Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Q&A episode of Optimal Relationships Daily, my favorite episodes. And this one is number 1828. I'm Greg Audino, your host, and I hope today is treating all of you very well. Thank you so much for coming as we take a break from our normal narrations and instead turn our attention towards one of your fellow listeners who is having some trouble in their own relationships and has reached out for some help, which is a real honor and a privilege for me every time it happens. So, without further ado, listen closely as I read the question aloud, then follow it up with my response, and optimize your life. My 5 closest girlfriends and I met because we were traditionally college-bound students in high school. We took the same AP classes and held the same student leader positions. We came from different socioeconomic backgrounds and went to different tiers of universities. We've been able to keep our friendship strong through our shared love of travel. Now we're at an age where we're having weddings and buying homes. I've never felt the differences in our socioeconomic circles more than I do now. I realized while planning a bachelorette party weekend for one of my girlfriends that our friendship is at risk of fizzling out because I won't be able to afford the kinds of vacations some of them want to take together. It's difficult for me to make friends, and I always pictured us as lifelong friends. We've known each other for more than 10 years, and we're turning 30 years old this year. I met one of my girlfriends in the 7th grade. Thankfully, my husband reminded me that 2 or 3 out of the 5 make around the same amount of money as I do. We can plan lots of budget-friendly domestic family camps and wine weekends in the future. But are there any tips to navigating these kinds of relationships so that I'm not missing out on my friends as they start planning international, extravagant gatherings? Okay, and thanks very much for this question, asker. There certainly are a lot of changes at this time of life, aren't there? Yes, ma'am. So, this question makes me... I think my first response is that it makes me sad for you. Not because I'm so concerned about the relationship you have with these girls, but rather I'm concerned about the relationship that you have with yourself. I'm worried about just how much you value yourself outside of your social class, I guess is what I'm saying. You seem to see your social class as such a strong shortcoming, so strong that I feel as though you're overlooking what true friendship is really about. And I'm not sure if that's because you don't know what true friendship is, or you don't feel like you're capable of maintaining true friendship, you don't feel like you're deserving of true friendship, or somewhere in between. So I want to explore that today and just sort of clear the air on some things. First of all, why all this emphasis on social class? That's my first thing. I might encourage you to question both your beliefs and your history of experiences that pertain to social class before going any further. Have you been told directly or indirectly that you are limited by your class? Maybe you were even told this by your parents. Have you been ridiculed because of your social class, or seen your family get ridiculed because of it? Have you been told that different classes cannot coexist? Have you watched too much Titanic? Sorry. Look, I just ask these things because it seems as though money and social class have never been an actual barrier between you and your friends. So, why do you feel it's bound to be now? Is it simply because you're arriving at a particularly expensive time of life in which the classes are more evident and perhaps more defined by yourselves instead of your families than ever before? Why are you so convinced that this will come between you? Especially if, based on what you're saying, you and the friends of yours who have the same income seem to be in the majority or close to it. Perhaps there's a sense of shame that you hold for not overcoming and being the highest earner. Perhaps you need to be amongst the elite as opposed to just blending in. Why is that? I don't know why. But to me, if that's even the case, but to me it seems to be the culprit because I'm only hearing the story that you're telling yourself, which, as presented to me, seems rooted more in your own shame, your own feeling of inadequacy, than it does the opinions or character of your friends. Who's to say that they won't understand if you can't afford these trips, and that they won't just love you anyway and be willing to make adjustments for these extravagant vacations? Or, maybe your fears aren't so related to class necessarily, but instead are rooted in the difficulty that you have making friends. Maybe the difference in class is just a vehicle, an outlet that's enough to have you convinced that this is the breaking point. If this is one way you differ from them and now it's so exposed, then surely, the friendships are bound to end in your mind. If so, you might send yourself through the same round of questions I asked before, but about friendships. So have you been told that you can't make friends? Have you been told you're unworthy of friendship? Have you been told you're too much of an outlier to really blend in with others and that you need to be looked up to in order to make friends? Whether your fears are born more of how you interpret your social class or how you interpret your ability to make friends, in addition to investigating these roots further, I would say it's also important to plunge yourself into the present. And remember that you are not a kid anymore. Your life has changed a lot. You've grown up. You've started a family. You're a person with an identity, an adult identity. And there are many people out there who are just like you or love people like you and are wishing for a friend like you. Unlike in childhood, you are no longer just limited to the handful of kids you know on the same playground. You can find and connect with your people who are out there and who are bound to be your true friends, whether or not they end up being the friends that you've had for 10 years and beyond. Remember that true friendships are about connection, and they truly, truly do transcend social class or even a shared interest in travel. Appearances do not make or break friendships that are actually real. And if your suspicions are true and it's the sole cause of these friendships ending, then it's likely the sole cause of the friendship being together right now in the first place. And that's not a friendship you want anyway. No matter what you tell yourself, that kind of friendship is not healthy for anyone, and there are better friendships to be had. So try to trust yourself more. Because until you do, you'll have similar trouble trusting your friends too. And so far, it doesn't seem as though you've given yourself a fair chance to accept their love, at least in this time of life. A love that may well have nothing to do with differences in money. Don't do all this thinking for them and run the risk of potentially distancing yourself from people that really do love you. If they are good friends, they will see and acknowledge your concerns once you present them with vulnerability. You are capable of quality friendships, and they hardly hinge on your social class. So get in touch with the value that you offer as a person, and your true friends will become obvious if they're around now, or they will start to come out of the woodwork and into your life soon if you are yet to meet them.
In theaters July 28th. Welcome to the Haunted Mansion.
You ready to have your mind blown?
We have 999 happy haunts, but there's room for more.
We could be trapped here for eternity.
There's no turning back now.
Madam Leota, we need your help.
I can show you, but it will cost you $3.
What? It's highway robbery.
Who said that?
Disney's Haunted Mansion. Rated PG-13. May be inappropriate for children under 13. Only in theaters July 28th. Get tickets now.
When you save on auto insurance for driving safe with USAA Safe Pilot, you'll feel like a big deal, even in a traffic jam. Save up to 30% with USAA Safe Pilot. Restrictions apply.
And thanks once again for sending in your question, Asker. It means a lot, as I said. And I really do hope that you're able to leave this episode feeling ideally fulfilled, but certainly as though you have some new and helpful questions to ask of yourself. Of course, I only got what you sent me today, but based on that, I do think there's a lot of opportunity here for you to find new value in yourself, which really stands to inform the relationships you have with others and obviously your relationship with yourself, which is good news because that's precisely what this podcast is for. So thank you once more for reaching out and trusting us with this. Now, for anyone else out there who might want to do the same, my door is always open. If you have a question you would like to send in, you can do so by emailing it to me at advice@oldpodcast.com. That's advice@oldpodcast.com. Send your questions there. You will definitely get a response from me. And I love hearing from you, so don't be shy. That's going to wrap us up, though, friends. Enjoy your day. Thank you for tuning in. And be sure to come on back tomorrow for another post. That's where your optimal life awaits.